The Phoenix Suns didn't really have a lot of money to work with this offseason, as they only could sign players to minimum contracts, but they ended up making some pretty solid signings with the money they had. Signing Monte Morris, Mason Plumlee, Colin Gillespie on a two-way deal, and bringing back Damian Lee and Bol Bol. All these signings are really solid, and although they might not totally move the needle towards championship contention, I do think the Suns did some of the best work they could with the money they had. I think they signed three of the best minimum contracts in this offseason between Morris, Plumlee, and Bol. And I'm going to break down the two new players' fits with the team. And let's start off with Monte Morris, who is that point guard type guy that Suns fans have really been wanting in this kind of point guardless era for the Suns, where they were running Bradley Beal at point, and we really didn't have anyone off the bench could even play points. I mean, we were using Saben Lee as our backup point guard because we just didn't have anyone else. Like Saben Lee, he was on a two-way deal, and he's not back on this team. You know, it's just kind of like an indictment of how bad the point guard situation was for the Suns. And I think Monte Morris is a great, he's that kind of guy you wanted to plug in, who can make the right play, who reduces the amount of turnovers, who initiates the offense and facilitates the lead offensive players. Last season, he played 33 games between the Pistons, where he played 6, and 27 with the Timberwolves. He averaged 14.4 minutes per game, and if this page could load properly, I could tell you his stats, but there we go. He averaged 5 points, 2.1 assists, and only 0.2 turnovers per game. He was second in the NBA in assist turnover ratio, but he didn't qualify for it because he didn't play enough games or throw enough passes or something. He just didn't qualify for it. I'm not sure why, but he didn't. And he had some great seasons with the Nuggets. He knows how to facilitate for lead offensive players, like he did with Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, and like he did last season with the Timberwolves with, Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards. He knows how to work on the ball when he needs to, how he can work off the ball when he needs to. I think it's a really solid signing, and he's kind of exactly that guy you wanted to plug in. He shot 42.4% from three last season for the Timberwolves. He was 38.6% from three on the season, and he's a career 39.1% three-point shooter from three. He can knock down a shot off the catch, and he's going to be shooting a lot of shots off the catch because we have so many ball-dominant offensive stars. He's a little bit on the smaller side, and that makes me worried for him playing in the playoffs, considering, the top teams we're going to play, like the Mavericks, Timberwolves, and Thunder, are going to want to pick on these smaller guys like Monte Morris, who's listed at 6'2", and he's not the most amazing defender in the league, even though he's pretty solid. He's just not the most amazing defender. He's a good passer. We're going to see him start at quite a few games this season with our injuries that we're going to have, and he's probably the seventh man off the bench for the roster, behind, I'm guessing Grayson Allen's going to be the sixth man. So it'll be interesting to see Monte Morris in there, setting up our stars, and just helping us out, being a successful offense with a new coach who actually believes in having point guards instead of our previous coach who, just kind of let that happen, didn't force the issue, didn't make James Jones get out there and get a point guard. So it'll be interesting to see how Monte Morris contributes with his first year at the Suns. A very, very good minimum signing, and probably the best point guard available. The next guy I'm going to talk about is Mason Plumlee, who is a 6'10" center who played his last season with the Clippers. In 46 games, he averaged 14.7 minutes per game and scored 5.3 points, 5.1 rebounds, 1.2 assists, and 0.4 blocks per game. He's a really solid interior protector. He doesn't really get a lot of blocks, but he does make some good vertical and contests, gets his hands up, and it just makes things difficult in the interior for any players trying to score in there. He's not the most amazing interior defender, but he is a good rebounder. He's a career 6.8 rebounder per game, and he's some really great seasons of rebounding the basketball. He's also a pretty nice passer. He had a year with the Pistons where he averaged 3.6 assists per game, and he had 2 triple-doubles that year in 2021 with the Detroit Pistons. And he's got some nice passing chops. He's kind of sometimes an offensive passing hub, in that Yusuf Nurkic, Domantas Sabonis type of hub role at the top of the key. He can also make some passes off the dribble or face up, which are really interesting. I like him attacking in transition. He can do some stuff as a scorer. He can do some stuff as a passer. He's got some great highlights when he played at his team in his time with the Clippers, and he always did a really great job against the Suns. And yeah, it's a pretty solid pickup for the team. Solid enough defender, pretty good rebounder, has a lot more foot speed and quickness than Jusuf Nurkic. He can do some more advanced defensive coverages, especially, against ball screens that Jusuf Nurkic just can't do, and that's going to be beneficial in a Budenholzer type defensive scheme. We're going to see more ice, we're going to see more traps, more blitzes, like anything that Budenholzer wants to sending to the ball. We're going to see Plumlee run a lot more of those than Nurkic is going to do, because Nurkic just doesn't have the foot speed. Plumlee's a really agile guy. That's stuck with him. He can just get up and down the floor, and he can move the ball or without the ball pretty decently. He's not really on the ball or off the ball threat, but I just like him. He's a lot better of a mover than Nurkic. He gets up and down the floor, which Nurkic just can't consistently do, considering that dude is just a massive hulking boulder who does such a great job in the interior because he has so much weight and muscle on the other players. But that means he sacrifices his foot speed. On the other hand, you have Mason Plumlee, who's a lot quicker and he's a lot lighter, and that's just the trade-offs that you'll get with Mason Plumlee on the floor. And yeah, I think it's a pretty solid pickup. I still think the Suns have maybe the worst center rotation out of any playoff contention team, because they're just not good. You really needed a great rim protector and a rim roller for the center rotation to even be decent, and because you don't have that, the center rotation is just bad. You need rim protection. You need like a true rim protector. You need true shot blockers. You need centers who can't get played off the floor like they will be against, not the Timberwolves, but against the Thunder, against the Mavericks. They're going to get completely played off the floor, and it's just like, should we try to fix this issue? I feel like there's a quite clear ceiling on this team, because there's just no chance we ever get past the Mavs or Thunder with this current roster construction. There's not even really a chance of us winning a game against either of those teams, because we're just going to get picked on, It's just going to be a mess. And yeah, I would really like things to be reformulated, but I think the Suns did the best they could with the resources they had. All the max contracts. You can't really trade Bradley Beal because no one wants Bradley Beal, and also Bradley Beal is not going to accept a trade to any other team. He has that no trade clause, and he's not leaving the Suns. And you weren't going to trade Devin Booker or Kevin Durant this offseason because it just didn't make sense. We were pretty much locked into the situation where you could only sign minimum contracts and make very small trades in the draft. There's really no chance of you trading Jusuf Nurkic or Nasir Little, because no one wants to trade for either of those players. They're just not that, good. No one wants those contracts, So the Suns were kind of stuck. They made some good signings with Mason Plumlee and Monte Morris. Bringing back Bol Bol is huge because he was such a great player. I've made a whole video about him. I think he's going to be great. I think he's just developing into a much better player. He's shown some amazing flashes and is going to be a key rotation piece and should be a playoff contributor. And once he does play in the playoffs, I don't know why he didn't play last year, because it made a lot of sense to play him against the Timberwolves. He didn't play. He should be playing this season. He's probably going to get paid after that because he's going to look really good in the playoffs because he is a really good player. But yeah, Bol Bol's a great signing. Damian Lee's kind of a locker room guy. I don't know how much of him we'll see this season. He did miss the entire year last year. He was on the Suns roster last year for the entire year and did not play a single game. So we'll see if he plays a game this year. We know what Damian Lee is. He's not a playoff type of guy who can really trust out there, but he does get out there. He has a lot of grit. He's a good he's a good coaching type of guy. He's probably gonna retire and immediately become a coach. So yeah, he's kind of like that Udon Haslam type of guy on this team. And yeah, maybe he'll do a little bit out on the court. I don't really trust it. Colin Gillespie, don't really know much about him, but he's around. And yeah, we're going to be looking forward to what that final roster spot's going to be. Maybe it'll be Jay Crowder. That'll be a fun one, bringing Jay Crowder back. I'd kind of rate it, It kind of makes sense. He's not the player he was in 2021, where he probably peaked in 2021, to be honest. He's not going to be that guy anymore. But Jay Crowder would be a fun guy. The Suns really need a defensive wing because just right now they don't have much size at all. And yeah, just looking at the I put together a little depth chart. You just have a lot of smalls right here. Royce, Grayson Allen, Damian Lee, like these wing type of guys who are really just smaller, you know? Like we don't really have a guy even over 6'5" in this group. And then you go right to the bigs who don't really have a lot of foot speed. You're really relying on a guy like Chris Dunn, or sorry, not Chris Dunn, sorry. When I just see Dunn, that's what I go to. You're really relying on Ryan Dunn developing into a great player, because also Mr. Little David Roddy are 6'5" and under as well. Ryan Dunn's your only like big wing on this roster. He's got to be really good for this team to even be like a somewhat like they could maybe sneak into the championship, you know? Ryan Dunn's got to be really good. And I don't know if that's going to happen in year one. So yeah, do I have the highest hopes for this team? Not really. You know, this team needs a lot of work still, but I'm excited to see what Coach Budenholzer can do with this team. What can they do offensively when they have a much different offensive coach who will prioritize shooting the three like Coach Budenholzer will in comparison to Frank Vogel. And yeah, it'll be an interesting thing to see. I'm not very excited by the defense. It's not going to be great this year, you know, but they'll do their best. And yeah, just looking forward to this year. We're going to have Summer League coming up soon, so we'll get to see how Ryan Dunn, Oscar Gadaro, and Jalen Bridges are playing. So yeah, looking forward to that. And that's about it for this one. If you enjoyed and you made it all the way to the end, maybe consider scrolling down and hitting the subscribe button. Stick around, see more of my content. A lot more content with film in it and not just me talking. It's just what I had to do in this current situation. So yeah, there'll be more film. You want to stick around for that. Hitting that button is the best way to do that. And that's about it for this video. If that's about it, yeah. I'm stun locked, but that's about it. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.